I'm Sallie Felton. I'm a life coach and an international radio talk show host. Thrilled to be here at Penguin Hall, and I am going to talk about transition. It's really hard when people are in transition. Transition is all about the next part of your life. We have your childhood, we have the teenage years, we have the adult years. Then, if you are lucky enough to become parents, you get those parenting years. Good or bad, they're there. Then you become the empty nester. That's a transition into itself. Your kids go off to college and you don't know quite where you fit. That's where I come in. I help with somebody going through a transition, either personal or relationship-wise. I also am an organizer and am one who has written a book called If I'm So Smart, Why Can't I Get Rid of This Clutter? It's more than clutter. Meet its two cousins, mental and emotional clutter. After the empty nester, your kids are off, they may have gotten married. Now you're thinking, okay, when am I going to retire? What's that going to be like? I know for me, I'm thinking about that right now. Where do I go? What do I do? Where do I see myself? I have to tell you, coming around and walking around Penguin Hall, I looked at Bonnie and I said, I could be here. But again, it is a transition and one needs to think about that. What do you want to do? What do you want to do with the next 30 years of your life? Most people say, I don't want to grow old. They're not the golden years. I didn't leave my job with a membership to a golf club and a gold watch. That doesn't happen anymore. So what do? How do you go out there and find another passion? If you are alone, that's even harder, but you can do it. You can so do this. Brainstorm what it is you want to do. Brainstorm, write the list down. Have a bucket list. What is it you would like to do in the next 30 years? And then prioritize, one step at a time. Nice to be here. Boy, to think what a place this must have been. Wow. I'm 61, but I'd love to sign up. I think this would be a great place to be. Transition. I deal with transition all the time in my practice. As Bonnie said, I'm a life coach. I deal with everything from little toddlers all the way up to senior citizens and beyond. I deal mostly with relationships in transition. Penguin Hall would be the next step. There is no way anybody wants to think of their retirement as being put out to pasture. I, for one, sign me up, I'm not going there. Not happening. This transition needs to be run smoothly. So how do you do it? You brought up children. You watched them go off to school. You may have watched them get married. Then they have had children, and now grandchildren. There's an empty nester. I talked with a woman today. She said, I'm having a really hard time being an empty nester. I personally so know how that felt. One, I forgot Corey's pillow. It was still in my car as I dropped him off to school, and I had to turn around in tears and bring his pillow back. That was really hard, but that was a transition. This transition that we all are going through is, what do we do next? How is our life going to be even better? I hate the word golden ages. I hate the word senior citizen. I hate all of those connotations. I met with a woman, Ellen Wood, who is 85 years old. And I did a lecture with her out in Minnesota. It's all about attitude. It's all about attitude. If you wake up in the morning and you are grumpy, how's your day going to be? You've just planted your feet, and your transition into the day is not going to be as purposeful as you might have liked. One thing I tell a lot of my clients, the older ones, the wiser ones, is write out what you want to do for that day. Make a list. I don't care how long it is or how short it is, but make it a positive list. Call one of your family members. Write a letter. Huh, what a thought. Write a letter. That transition may go by the wayside, but I hope it doesn't. Writing in cursive is very therapeutic. Write your memoirs. Gather some pages of photographs that you want to possibly give to your kids. One of my sisters just gave her daughter, who's 40 years old, a book done by Shutterfly or my publisher. And my daughter came up and said, excuse me, would you get on this? I'd like one. Hello, I'd like one. So now I have 3 to do. But I didn't give her a deadline. Go through your photographs. Most of you are going to be downsizing. So how do you do it? I just wrote a book called, If I'm So Smart, Why Can't I Get Rid of This Clutter? Clutter comes in 3 forms: mental clutter, physical clutter, and emotional clutter. One thing I noticed with my family, especially my parents, who we did take care of, they asked each one of us, what is it in their houses that we loved? Well, you can imagine 5 daughters and 5 different color-coded stickers, and we're all placing things on the back of things. But there was something I remembered my mother really taking great pleasure. Before she ever had cancer, she said, I am so thrilled you want Dad's ship's wheel from World War II. Not only did I love it, I noticed my son loved it. She gave it to him when he graduated from college. It's so important in this transition to start giving away. Start giving away. One thing my daughter Sarah, who's come back from Wyoming for a month, said to me, Mom, when you die, I won't have a clue who gave you what or the history. And I thought, oh, one more thing on my plate. I said, okay, Sarah, so how do you want to do this? And she said, I'll go around and photograph everything you have. We'll put it in an album, and you write where you got it, who gave it to you, if you still remember, and what it meant to you. I'm taking her up on that. She's here for another 2 weeks, and the house is going to be done. Talk about killing 2 birds with 1 stone. My mother-in-law did that before she died of cancer. And I have a list of what things she had that meant something to her and the history. Once we go, the history's gone. Transition is telling a story, your story. So whether or not you need to deal with mental clutter, which is, oh my gosh, the list, how are we going to downsize? where are we going to go, how are we going to do it, chunk it out. Chunk it out with this acronym, SMART goals. S-M-A-R-T. S is smart and simple. Make those goals smart and simple. M is make them measurable. A, make them attainable. R, make them realistic. And T is time-oriented. I'm giving myself 2 weeks with Sarah to take these pictures. Then when she's gone, I can, beside the fire this winter, start writing what I know about it. I'm not doing this 3 times for the kids. This is a one-shot deal. So think about as you transition, 1, what you can give away. That's the hardest thing for people. The fear of change, the fear of giving away. We had pieces of jewelry, talk about being raw, with 5 girls. And there were items we didn't want. So we looked at each other and said, okay, how are we going to do this? Who, besides the family of origin, would like this? And we came up with names. And we sent it, and the joy that that person had on the other end just nailed it. Somebody liked my dad's bow ties. Mom shipped all the bow ties to him. Think about what you have that you can begin to relinquish. But in that, tell your story of why you want to give it to this person. One of the things I've always remembered my dad doing when he was dying of emphysema, I was in the hospital and he said, Sally, I want you to go home. I want you to drive to Worcester. I'm in New Bedford. I want you to drive to Worcester and I want you to get my address book. I thought, what does he want me to do? He said, I want to call every single person in my address book and tell them what they meant to me. I sat there, I got goosebumps. I sat there in the room as he talked to Dick Prouty, Mr. Dewey. I have never, ever forgotten that. What a gift. And I remember Mrs. Lyle looking at me, calling me up, and she said, how do you respond to somebody who's saying goodbye to you? She responded by putting a collection of letters that they had written back and forth. And we still have that. Transition is important, but it doesn't need to be heavy. Make things positive. Positive. And it makes life a lot lighter. Thank you very much.